everyone. Good morning. Welcome to the Teach Better Today morning show where the Teach Better team gets to join you live every single morning, Monday through Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern. I am so excited to get into this morning's conversation. Chad just recently connected with Jeff, and Jeff said, oh my gosh, you got to get this guy on Teach Better Today. So you know it's going to be a good conversation. I am currently, although it looks deceiving, I have a coffee mug, but it's filled with orange juice. Let us know in the comments how you're starting your morning. We'll be right back. Hey everyone, good morning. Thank you for tuning in to Teach Better Today morning show. I cannot believe we are in May and it is Teacher Appreciation Week. We have Chad here with us. Chad, how you feeling?
I'm feeling awesome. The weather's been lovely and life is good.
I love when life is good, especially during Teachers Appreciation Week. For those of you who might be popping in and unfamiliar, this is a week where the world especially celebrates teachers, although we love to celebrate teachers all the time. There's a lot of fun stuff that the Teach Better team will be doing this week on social media, via email. Make sure you're on our email list. There's tons of freebies. Make sure you're following the Teach Better team on social media. Might even do something here special on the show. But today's all about Chad celebrating teachers too. So Chad, before we get too far into this, tell us a little bit about your background. Who are you? Let's get you introduced.
You betcha. So I am a teacher, right, at heart. Even though I've had many different roles, I consider myself an educator. I was a classroom teacher, middle school teacher, and then was a professional developer serving adult learners, right, in a large area of central Nebraska. And then I went to the dark side and I became a principal. And even though I was on the dark side again, I feel myself as a partner, right? Like there are no us's and them's in education. We are together, right? We are a team, and nobody can do it themselves. So we all have to be together. So I was a high school principal, and then I went to the really dark side and was central office administrator, again with that same mindset. And then a few years ago, actually just before the pandemic, and then early on in the pandemic, started toying around with the idea of sharing my knowledge and skills more widely. And so July of 2020, I wrote a couple of books, and now full time I get to work with amazing educators all over the country, helping us to get better at our craft and at meeting the needs of every single kid every day.
Oh, I love that you have so many different life experiences to pull from in just that short period of time through your career thus far. And I will tell you, although we joke that the principals are always the dark side, the Teach Better family is full of everyone in that education ecosystem. So special shout out to those administrators, district office members that are a part of our Teach Better family. We love you. We love seeing you and all
Absolutely.
the different supports we have here on the team. And, although our classroom teachers, we do have a special spot for, it's always good to support that entire ecosystem. It sounds like you have gone through the gamut.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. And they get their administrative appreciation day in April, right? So now it's teacher appreciation week. And like you said, educators don't get valued enough, right? And it needs to be, in my view, all year long.
Yeah.
Because without educators, civilization doesn't advance, right? There is no civilization without educators, right? We are the profession that creates all other professions. Without us, there's no doctors, lawyers, plumbers, electricians, secretaries, nurses. There aren't other educators. And so we are, as a profession, the foundation that creates all other professions and advances civilization.
So good. Yeah, I always for like a special principal appreciation day is great. I'm glad it exists. But I will say, I really think we need to do a better job highlighting that those in leadership roles in education are also in educator roles. I think it's really
Right.
interesting. We have a little campaign going on right now for those of you interested over on our Teach Better social media. You'll see we're highlighting some internal team members that are in education, and some of them are full-time principals, but
Mhm.
you're an educator too. And
Right.
it's really cool, in my opinion, to see where they started in education before they went to that principalship. Like celebrating a Teach Better member, Brad Hughes, who was an art teacher, a language teacher, and then just went into the principal role. And it's so funny because it's very rare that I think he gets to talk about that huge part of his life being an incredible classroom teacher before the leadership role. So lots and lots and lots to celebrate here. Chad, before we get too far, everyone's going to be curious about your books, especially
Uh-huh.
these are books that educators are going to enjoy, because this could be a really good gift for someone to gift a friend or a colleague as early as this week for Teacher Appreciation Week. So tell us a little bit about the book.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have two books that have been printed, and a third one that'll come out in August, September. So the first one is Let's Put the C in PLC, a
Ooh.
practical guide for school leaders. And so it is really focused on, well, as we know, PLC is one of those terms that gets thrown around a lot, right? Professional learning community. And so the focus is, okay, so how do you build that community? Like, what does that mean to, PLC is more than a time, it's more than a place, it's more than a team, right? And so it's who we are, our ethos, our culture. And so how do we create that community where it's a professionals who are learning in community? And so I identified 10 elements that school leaders need to know to be able to make that happen. And so I just walked through those 10 elements, what they are, the research behind them, practical implications, stories of how they've been um, implemented in different places, and then checklists of self-assessments. Like, do I really know each of these 10 elements? So that was the first book. And then the second book was an action guide, because the first book is all about knowledge, right? You got to know what you need to do. But then if we only know but don't do, then we're going to have a knowing doing gap. So that's the second book is. It's an action guide to put the C in PLC, and it's reflective questions, it's challenge exercises, it's planning tools. And so those two books, putting the C in PLC.
I love this. And then a third book, it seems very ambitious for you to have all this out there for people to enjoy and consume and learn from. What's the third book focus? Are you allowed to spoil anything?
I am. The third one I am really excited about. The first two, obviously the first book is like, your first child, right? Like, so it's, there's an extra special, but I am really excited about this third one. Solution Tree is publishing it. And the title is The Teacher Team Leader Handbook. And the subtitle is Simple Habits to Transform Collaboration in a PLC at Work.
Wow,
So
this is going to be great content.
I am so excited about it. Because there really is not a lot in our field on the role of a teacher team leader, right? People are identified as, okay, so you'll make a good teacher team leader. Now go do. But there's not clarity about what that role is, what the approaches that are successful, and then what skills are necessary to make it happen. And so this book lays that out. It lays out the what I see as the three responsibilities of a teacher team leader. It lays out some potential assumptions that might help make the work a little bit better, and then encourages the reader to think about what might their own assumptions be. And then it lays out three mindsets, right? Attitudes that lead to action to help with that. And so that, like, the first part of the book is who you are as a teacher team leader with responsibilities, assumptions, and mindsets. And then the second half of the book, which is actually a little bit more than half, because it's really like the meat, is now how do you do that? What are some moves, techniques, and strategies to make that happen? And so just really excited about it. And it lays them out. I've laid them out where there's a chapter on getting started. So these are move techniques and strategies that are like some baseline things. If you don't have these in place, start here. If you do have them in place, I've got some next level tips that maybe can, make it more effective, but start here. Then once you've got that, now you're gaining momentum. That's the next chapter, some moves, techniques, and strategies to gain momentum. And then you're going to have obstacles. So how do we overcome those obstacles? And then finally, a chapter on refining your skills, where that are just for you as the teacher team leader. They're not going to be something that you're going to do with everybody else. They're just for you. And then the last chapter, of course, is some stories from the field. So I get to work with amazing educators, and they share with me their challenges. They say, hey, I've got this problem. I've got a team where one person dominates the whole conversation. What do I do? Okay, well, here's some things you can do. Hey, I've got somebody who never talks during our meetings. What do I do? Hey, we never follow through on our decisions. How do we do that? Right? So, like, these are like from actual teachers who said, these are challenges I have. And then I offer some potential solutions that might be helpful.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for this third piece as well. You are constantly thinking about how you can share different things with educators, but I really appreciate the how that you're focusing on in all these three pieces of work, but especially this last one I know is going to be exciting. So, friends, a good plan right now would be to pick up the first two, get into the nitty gritty, get all that learning, share it with a friend. This would be a great book study topic. I can't even believe how user friendly this could be. And then the opportunity when this officially releases, in the fall, that people will be able
Yep.
to enjoy the third one?
Yep. End of August, beginning of September. I don't have a hard timeline yet. I'll be learning that here very soon. But yeah,
That's all right.
somewhere in early fall.
Just enough for us to get our classroom set up, get the school year started, and then this will be the first book that we could get a book study for next school year. So lots to celebrate there.
Let's
Chad,
do it.
we're going to transition here into our team talk and really get into some nitty gritty, maybe sharing some secrets from pieces of content that you've already shared out, but allowing our educators to really learn this morning as they head into their day ahead. So we'll be right back. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking with us here on the Teach Better Today morning show. As we kind of wrap up our conversation here, we love to end each segment with an opportunity for our guests to share some major takeaways, some ideas that they want to leave us with as we head into our day. It is May 7th, and there are great things ahead for us. And we definitely want to find those good ideas to keep at the forefront of our minds so we can keep being better each and every day. Chad, we have so many things we could touch on with your vast experience in education, with the book focus that you've had. You're a middle school guy at heart. I love that. Me too. There's so many big takeaways, but we're in May. We're wrapping up the year, and so many of us are tired but trying to end the year strong.
Mm-hmm.
Any pieces of advice or things that you find yourself saying more often than not these days that you'd like to share with our community?
Yeah. I think the regardless if it's May or August or December, or anywhere in between, one of the biggest takeaways that I've had as I've been writing this third book is around the most important responsibility of a teacher team leader. And so, and one of the things I think is it applies not just to a teacher team leader, it applies to just any old teacher in the classroom, like with their kids. It applies to school leaders in working with staff or with students. But I've honed it in on the teacher team leader, and that is the number one responsibility that a teacher team leader has is to make it safe, to create a psychologically safe environment where we're able to access the expertise of everyone in the room. And that's easier said than done, but it is the most important thing, right? A colleague of mine, Kendall Zoller, who's brilliant, and I love him, and I learn so much from him every time I'm with him. He says that when he's facilitating adult learning, his number one responsibility is to the group, to make sure that it's psychologically safe. And then he goes a step further. He says, now when I'm facilitating with somebody else, I'm co-facilitating, my number one responsibility is to make my co-facilitator look good. And then number two is the psychological safety of the group, right? So it's like really, really close. But in a classroom, as a classroom teacher, your number one responsibility is to make it psychologically safe for every student, not just the ones who like to raise their hand, but every student, psychological safety. And that translates into two things. that has come out of a study from Google a few years ago, that they identified this as the number one factor of effective teams is psychological safety. And that it means two things. Psychological safety means two things. First, the degree to which there is social sensitivity amongst the participants. And second is equity of voice, equity of turn taking. So those are two very simple things that school leaders, team leaders, and teachers can do, is to, first of all, make sure that am I socially sensitive and am I aware of facial expressions and moods and how people are responding non-verbally to make sure that we can be effective. And then second of all, am I making sure that everybody's got a chance to talk? Everybody has voice in this conversation. Those two things, and you've got psychological safety.
Such a good thing to keep in mind, especially as we're heading into a wonderful week ahead. I love that we're able to do this reflection, take responsibility for working on this within whatever group you're meeting with today. Chad, how can our community stay connected to you? I would love to make sure that they can not only pick up the books, but also just connect with you person to person, educator to educator, ask follow-up questions, and obviously follow the fun journey that you're on.
Absolutely. So my website is nextlearningsolutions.com, Next Learning Solutions. Twitter might be the easiest way though, and it's very simple. I must have gotten on early enough. It's just at Chad Dumas. No numbers, no underscores, no anything, just Chad Dumas, ChadDumas. I also have a tiny URL where I have some free resources to go with this third book and then my first couple of books. And it's tinyurl.com/put the C in PLC. All one word, no spaces or underlines. Put the C in PLC.
I love it. Friends, if you have any issues connecting with Chad, getting these resources, please just reach out to me or anybody here on the Teach Better team. We'd love to get you connected to him to make sure you can have those valuable conversations. Chad, thanks so much for coming on the show. This is a great episode.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So fun. For everyone else, we hope you have an amazing rest of your day and let us know if you need anything. Bye, guys. Hey, Teach Better community. Thank you so much for joining the Teach Better Today morning show every single weekday at 7 a.m. Eastern. We have so many resources for you outside of this live stream at teachbetter.com, including blogs, podcasts, and professional development that will bring our team to your school. Wherever you are listening from this morning, please make sure you are sharing and celebrating the incredible educators in this world. And hey, if you are listening over on a podcast to Teach Better Talk, we would love a 5-star review. The comments are always so entertaining. We'll see you tomorrow.